shit, which recorder game was the first one? Did he upload them in order? I hope so. Okay. Check me out. I'm somewhere. No, I'm not. Never mind. Right. Let's get this shit happening. What is up, everyone? My name is BoIt, and I'm going to be casting the Sunday Classic with Army Corps and Hell's Ravage. I didn't look at the scores. I didn't look at the winners, so I'm here seeing who wins this matchup. It looks like it's 4 games, so maybe if it was a best of 7, it was a 4-0, or it would have been maybe something else. And getting nudged by Army Corps. So it's Midgard, Oasis, Anatolia, Tundra. Good, in order. Awesome. So why not just jump straight into it? I'm going to play it on fast speed, so I'm going to see if I can commentate at fast speed and see how that goes, so it doesn't take too long. Looks like it's an Oranos mirror here. We have our blue Oranos player, Army Corps, spawning in the bottom or 6 o'clock position, and our red Oranos player, Hell's Ravage, spawning in the top position at a 12 o'clock position. It looks like on Midgard, so they're obviously going to be looking over at the fish, wants to get that extra economy going with the fishing ships. Obviously going to throw down a dock in order to do so. I always like saying that when you're thinking about throwing down this dock, it's basically an extra town center for the early game. It lets you build that extra villager in the fishing ship, so it's like a cheap town center, which is really cool. It looks like, however, Army Corps is struggling to find his fish, which is quite depressing. However, he does manage to find it, which is quite nice. Hell's Ravage, on the other hand, decided to play this straight away. He's a little bit off of the fish, but it's still close, so it's going to be decent for him. Build order-wise, it looks like they should do the same thing. They're both very high-caliber players, so they know how to play this correctly. Obviously going to be knocking down that wood to produce more fishing ships. He also needs to get a mana out so he doesn't get supply blocked. I'm not sure exactly. Is he going to hit that extra 25 wood in order to throw down the mana and not get supply blocked? Yep, there we go. So that's going to allow him to instantly build that extra villager when his house is finished. Well, if he has the food, which he doesn't. But regardless, he will be able to build that extra villager straight away. So it's quite good build from Army Corps. Hell's, on the other hand, is a little bit ahead, sitting on 18 supply at the moment, so it looks like he's a little bit more tight in his build order. However, he's also had the dock up a little bit earlier, so that's probably why that's happening. Some scouting going on, trying to find some cows. Looks like Hell's is doing quite well in that regard. He's already found 2 cows. That's going to give him a little bit of a boost in the economy. Just means that he doesn't have to go and run around the map and trying to find the hunt or whatever. He can just, it just reduces walking time basically if you can grab some cows on this map, because there's going to be a lot of wood and gold based income in the classical age for those triremes, terma, whatever they decide to do. However, if you're looking at the map layout right now, it looks as though Army Corps' gold mine is quite exposed as opposed to Hell's, which is quite protected. This means that Army Corps has to really be worried about some really early push that Hells might decide to do on this gold mine, preventing actually strike that. Hells has got a really nice large gold mine at the back. So take that back. Basically, Army Corps is going to be fine. He can always retreat back here. However, it's still option for Hells to play a really aggressive raiding game where he'd hit here, push off this gold mine, and then continue to harass this location if he has the map sense or whatever to do that. Hells has scouted this, but he hasn't scouted the back gold mine either. And now both players are advancing through Prometheus, the standard god path. Going to be interesting to see what happens. There's only one dock up, and it doesn't look like Hells is looking to throw up that second dock. But Army Corps is, so it looks like Army Corps is wanting to play a little bit on the water, whereas Hells looks like he wants to just land aggression because of this forward gold mine. And it looks like Hells is getting in position now to cast Valor as soon as he hits the Classical Age in order to push off this gold mine as soon as possible. And there we go, he does do that, and he's actually going to go for the tower. That's a smart move, going to prevent any like turtling off this gold mine to occur. However, it looks as though in response Army Corps is going to also have his Prometheus to deal damage over here, so he is going to be able to hold. It's going to force Hells back, and it looks like he's actually going for the standard double cracks and 1 racks. That's going to let him produce a bunch of Terma as well as those Murmillo. However, Army Corps just throwing up 1 military barracks and 1 counter barracks, just wanted to get out those early units, and maybe trying to bolster his economy a little bit. Supply-wise, it looks like Army Corps is down by 15. So if Hells can really push in now and abuse his early economic advantage and army supply advantage now, he might be able to push in and destroy this tower and push off this gold mine. That's what he really wants. He does still have Shockwave, and he's really going to come down to micro. Can Hells pick off units without losing too many units and abuse his current population advantage that he's sitting on? He is doing quite a nice job. He's almost picked off 1 Terma as opposed to what Army Corps done, which has picked off basically no units at all. However, there is a citizen moving forward, which I'm not exactly sure what he's doing, but maybe just a misclick, a little bit of mismicro there. The Terma, on the other hand, it just looks like the army of Hells is getting quite massive, just because he's got that extra building production happening. And again, just throwing the little javelins of those Terma, trying to pick off some villages. If he picks off 1 villager, that's a huge win. That's basically 3 villages in like a standard non-Atlantean game. If he picked off one of those citizens there, it's always better. Hell's being smart, throwing a mana down up on this gold mine, meaning that if that does get raided, he can easily just retreat into the manor. However, if there's any economy upgrades, no economy upgrades going right now. It's all of the economy is going into the army and villages, which I can't say is bad because the gold mine is really unprotected here, and it's going to be hard for Hells to really abuse any economic advantage. If that made sense, I don't know. And now it looks like the large gold mine of Army Corps is going to start kicking in. I don't believe that Hells knows about this yet. He has not seen this, he does not know. He knows that this is being pushed off, and it looks like it's just going to be a little bit of a raiding game at the moment. However, Army Corps catching up in supply. I would say he's sitting on 115 at least, and his army is more what's the word? It's better. He's got a bunch more Cherio Ballista and everything else, and it looks like Shockwave going off. Hells needs to retaliate as well with Shockwave. I believe the second Shockwave is probably more favoured for Hells because he's obviously going to get extra shots off or whatever. However, it looks like Army Corps micro might just be a little bit not quite good enough in this fight. Quite an intense battle though. A lot of units are dying, and it looks like Army Corps may have to retreat here. However, the bulk of Hells' army right now is Terma, and they're not really going to be able to do much against the Cherio Ballista, which are going to be able to pick them off if he might be able to manage to do so. And a citizen just randomly coming in and trying to pick off the Cherio Ballista. Kind of smart, kind of not. He's just lost a hero citizen, which might be a good thing for Army Corps to get back in the economic part of the game. And it just looks like both players now struggling. Hell's sitting on 72 supply to Army Corps 70 supply, so it's very even at the moment. Picking off Murmillo as well, picking off Cherio Ballista. It doesn't look great for Army Corps at the moment. The Terma should be able to come in and pick off units. Really what Hells needs to be thinking now, okay, Hells is ahead. He needs to be thinking about how can I get more ahead. I can't just keep pushing in because it's just going to keep on resulting in trades, and maybe micro will just be too much with Army Corps coming out on top. So really Hells needs to think, okay, I'm ahead, what can I do? I can't push him off this back gold mine, it's way too hard to get in there and attack them. Maybe I can raid or whatnot, but really what he needs to think about is, okay, I really need to throw up a economic guild, start getting economic upgrades, grab this second town center, really start abusing the fact that he can't be pushed around at the moment. Perhaps even try and get to that mid game a little bit before Army Corps does, and try and win the game there as Army Corps decides to move out to a second gold mine. That probably would be the better choice. Army Corps has, however, has he thrown down his economic guild yet? No one's thrown down the economic guild yet, so they're not going to be getting that economic advantage. And it looks like Army Corps' supply has caught up again, so Hells really didn't do anything with that advantage that he had, and now he's stuck with all of these kind of useless Terma, which aren't really going to do much to the Chariot Ballista, which are going to completely shred through Hells' army. Now what Army Corps needs to think about, he doesn't have the best scouting, so he doesn't exactly know what's going to be happening. Is this gold mine or is this gold mine going to be taken? There's no other gold mine, but he doesn't know that either. And he doesn't exactly know if there's a gold mine behind Hells at all either. So really it's going to come down to scouting. Will he find this gold mine? Will he be able to push off this gold mine? Shockwave is about 55 seconds away, so that's not going to play a huge role in this fight. However, there is also the mana here, and there's a lot of buildings which might be able to tank fire and force some sort of, what's it called, like extra micro needing. And it looks like Hell's quite a nice raid there with that Oracle taking the scout right there. You might be able to pick off this hero civilian, that's great. Picking off 2 civilians and missing that other chubby, that would have been kind of big to get that third chubby. Chubbies are citizens, if you didn't know when you're watching. And it looks like the Terma just running around again. They're trying to. It looks like Hell's just basically just trying to abuse his mobility with the Terma. He knows he can't win in direct engagement, and he's just trying to sort of run around and fight like he can. His economy isn't the best though. If you're looking at the 11-2-4, 11, that's mostly fishing ships as well. So he doesn't actually have that many villages. Though he is building that second town center, so that's going to be good for him. Army Corps, on the other hand, has that second town center. He's hitting 130 supply, and if he can hit this timing right now where he's up by 15 supply and picking off this gold mine and effectively gold starving, that will be a huge win for Army Corps and might even seal the game. Shockwave is going to come here, and if he uses it right there, it's great Shockwave right there, going to prevent the majority of Hells' army from attacking, whereas all these Chariot Ballists are still dealing all the damage that they can. It does not actually look like Hells can hold here. There's just too many bulky units from Army Corps being able to really shred through Hells' army with that supply.